Good morning, crypto millionaires. We are live in the digital market show with your host, the Blockchain Pro. So, in this show, we analyze the digital market, we talk about the trending news, we talk about different people that are well involved with the crypto space, and we educate the masses. The blockchain industry needs mass adoption, and this is one of the ways we reach out and we educate the community so that we can accelerate mass adoption. So today we have some very interesting topics. Before we do that, I just want to make sure that the audio is fine. So if I have someone with audio, let me know if you can hear me. We are updating our stream to Facebook, which is a slightly delayed. So bear with us. All right, good morning, crypto millionaires. We're finally live. We're just fixing some technical difficulties, but we have a great show for you today. This is a show where we analyze the crypto market, the digital market, all the different tokens, coins, projects, ICOs, and we give you the latest trending news. So if we have people connected, just give me a heads up that the audio is okay, that you can hear me, so we can continue on. So we have different topics for today. Today is all about Bitcoin. You know, I've been educating the community for at least the past 2 years here in Central Florida. I've been involved in the blockchain industry for quite some time now. I've been involved with mining, trading, arbitrage, analyzing the market, developing different technologies. And so I just want to ensure that the community is well educated before they make any decisions. So let's talk about Bitcoin. You know, people have a hard time understanding what Bitcoin is all about. And it's very important because it happens to be one of the first blockchains, right? So this is where the first white paper was published in 2008, and then Bitcoin was released in 2009. But since then, we have thousands of tokens and coins and blockchains. So it's important for the masses to understand the basics, to have a really good foundation of what Bitcoin is all about. So to simplify it, because we can go on for hours talking about blockchains and Bitcoins, but Bitcoin is nothing more than a ledger, a digital ledger that happens to be decentralized. And decentralization is key to this because of the fact that most companies, entities, banks, governments, they have centralized ledgers, centralized databases where they store their information, transactions, security, and that is what makes this technology different than any other centralized database that we've used in the past. So with decentralization, think about the best analogy I give when I do presentations is I talk about the internet. The internet is not really hosted in one place. I know we talk about the cloud here and the cloud there, but the internet works because of the fact that it's a decentralized network that is powered globally by all the servers and the people and the clients and servers that are using that form of communication. So think of Bitcoin something similar in the sense that it's decentralized and that every person that runs a node, a client, a Bitcore, they have the ability to participate and join that network, amplify its reach, and at the same time also strengthen its security. So that's one thing. But interesting fact, we have 8 years ago, May 22nd is now officially considered Bitcoin Pizza Day, right? Because back then, someone made a transaction ordering 2 pizzas and paid 10,000 Bitcoin. Imagine that. Yes, this was the times when Bitcoin was only pennies, but now if we had to calculate 10,000 Bitcoin today in 2018, we have 2 pizzas that are worth nearly $82 million. So I figure that's a good trivia question if you ever happen to go on Who Wants to Be a Crypto Millionaire. And the question is, how much was the transaction for those 2 pizzas? So we average out 41 million per pie. I know it's insane, but that is how much this particular technology has grown exponentially in price and awareness. So going back to Bitcoin pricing. So Bitcoin pricing is actually today on May 23rd at 7,932. It is rather low, but that's very subjective. So it really depends when your entry point was. So let's say you enter the market like myself when it was under $200, and then I saw the Bitcoin market go in at 300, 400, 500, 1,000, 1,500. I mean, I still remember giving free seminars here in Orlando, Florida last year when it was under $1,000 and telling everybody the reasoning behind it and the mechanism, the halving, how the algorithm changes every 4 years, and why you have certain linear growth that is expected, but at the same time there's different factors that can push this technology to be adopted, in an exponential way, as we experienced in November and December of last year. So if you enter the market, when it was a couple $100, or even if it was $1,000, $2,000, currently at 7,932, I mean, you still have maximum gains. Now, if you're one of those few or one of the many that enter the market when it was over $10,000, maybe $12,000, $15,000, and some at $19,000 or even $20,000, which was the peak in November and December of 2017, then you're definitely impacted by this particular exchange pricing. But if you enter the market early on, you're still in the green, making money, exponential gains. So let's talk about the next item. The next topic is actually MIT testing smart contracts on the Bitcoin network through the Lightning network. Why is this important? So smart contracts, even though they were mainly introduced mainstream to the world through the Ethereum platform, smart contracts are a concept that have been talked about for decades. And this is definitely a business use case, a technology, a platform that can be used for many business use cases. So Ethereum capitalized on this. If you hear the word smart contracts, the first word that comes to mind is Ethereum. But there are many other platforms that are trying to have the same type of capabilities, to have smart contracts. And if these researchers from MIT are able to successfully implement smart contracts over the blockchain, then this is going to be huge in the sense that Bitcoin, by now, it's still number one, and it has the largest adoption, global adoption. So if you can add the smart contract capabilities, it may give Ethereum, the Ethereum platform, a run for its money, or maybe for its crypto. So that is definitely a huge development. I will continue to monitor, the level of progress that this team in MIT is doing and give you some updates. So the next thing we have is Seminole County. I mean, this was phenomenal news for everybody in Central Florida, at least, because we see one particular state entity, or in this case county, the Seminole County, being open-minded and taking that approach to accept cryptocurrencies for tax payments. I mean, this it's interesting. From the Orlando Sentinel, we hear that the statement from Orange County is that they're not considering to move into this space. And then they talk about Lake County, at least mentioning the fact that no one has approached them with the business use case of accepting crypto. So they didn't say yes or no, it was rather a neutral response. But with Seminole County wanting to accept Bitcoins, once again, it takes one step forward in, I would say, legitimizing this particular fintech technology. You know, I remember a few years ago when I talked about Bitcoin with different people in different levels, you know, government, corporations, commercials, and consumers. Bitcoin always had this dark connotation in terms of being, you know, the currency that is used for drugs, illicit activity, money laundering. But the reality is that most fiat currencies, and fiat I mean paper-based currencies, have been used for the same reason. So it's not the technology, it's not the currency, it's the people that are using it and the business use case. So that is one positive news, knowing that Seminole County is moving in the right direction. So then I read a little bit more into how this is gonna roll out, and then I saw, based on the article, that BitPay is the entity that has created this alliance with the Seminole County and will be accepting the Bitcoin payments. Now you say some of the controversy is cryptocurrencies are so volatile. How can we pay taxes with crypto when, you know, today it could be at 7,900, tomorrow 8,500. So with BitPay, they do have a 15-minute period where if they wanted to trade or convert or exchange that crypto immediately into fiat USD, they could do that within 15 minutes and that price would be guaranteed. So I think that takes away the risk of the county accepting crypto and the exchange pricing actually going down. Now, if I was the person receiving the crypto, I would actually hold it. And that's just me understanding the different opportunities and the growth opportunities that Bitcoin, not just Bitcoin, but the fintech space has. I would much rather huddle and save my crypto, my Bitcoins, my Litecoins, Ethereum, or any other cryptocurrency that actually has intrinsic value. And the reason I say that is because there's over 1,600 coins/tokens, but very few of them, in my opinion, possess intrinsic value, meaning that they have innovation, they have a community, they have a project that's either at least in beta version, alpha version. You know, most of these projects, some of these projects are nothing more than a vision, a white paper of what could be, but the team is not there, the product's not there, the technology's not there. So whenever you look into these companies, tokens, entities, that is some of the things you want to look for. And we will be covering different coins, tokens, ICOs throughout different editions. So I will give you my professional assessment on the technology, the token, and the value proposition. All right, so let's talk about, once again, Bitcoin. This being the first show, I want to establish a few things. I want to educate the community so that you guys can have an educated conversation with blockchain professionals, or even if someone comes to you and asks what Bitcoin is all about, at least you can give them some facts. So the first thing I want to point out is that even though this was proposed through the white paper in 2008 and released in 2009, once again, this technology has been around for decades. I mean, we're talking late 70s, late 80s, late 90s. Cryptography itself, you know, has been evolving. You know, the concepts were there, but the solution as a whole was not put together and released until 2009. But it's definitely a technology that has been evolving for the past decades. So that's one thing. It's not something recent that just surfaced in 2017, because I know all the news outlets and the media started covering it, you know, globally in 2017 because of the mass increase from $4,000 to close to $20,000. But, you know, this technology, you know, it has been in development for years. That's one thing. So then another fact, Bitcoin trivia fact. There will only be 21 million Bitcoins, and that is very important. That particular concept demonstrates that it has a finite supply, and that is very key because most currencies, and once again, I'm going to use the term fiat currencies, the paper-based currencies, the different states, countries, they can continue to print and print more and more of those papers, the fiat currencies, the dollar bills or any other denomination. And what happens is we hyperinflate the economy and we dilute the price of the actual currency. So by having a finite amount of 21 million coins, that almost becomes, I've heard different people in the industry refer to it as a collector's edition, the digital gold collector's edition, because at this point, once we reach that 21 million, that will be the finite amount. So as we continue to increase the circulation, obviously that has a linear implication in terms of its exchange pricing, and hence the pizza that I mentioned, that 10,000 bitcoins were paid for 2 pizzas 8 years ago, which would amount to about $82 million. Another interesting fact about Bitcoin is the fact that the algorithm changes every 4 years. And this took place in 2012, 2016, 2020, 2024. You will see this change every 4 years. It's very important. That is labeled as the halving or the halvening, because of the fact that the supply of the Bitcoin blockchain, every time a block is mined every 10 minutes, the system actually releases coins in reward for those miners that are mining the transaction, maintaining the security of the transactions. So it all started out with 50 Bitcoins being released every 10 minutes. These are the times where the miners were able to accumulate tons of Bitcoins, because the system was releasing 50 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. Then it was cut down to 25 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. These were the times back in 2014, 2015. I was an active miner, and as I was mining, that was the reward that the system was actually giving out, which was 25 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. In 2016, once again, the halving took place, and then it went from 25 Bitcoins to 12 point and change. And as we can see, the next halving is going to take place in the year 2020, which we will go from 12 point Bitcoins to somewhere in the 6 Bitcoins. And then it goes on and on. So as the release and the generation, or the minting or mining of Bitcoins, is actually decreased, this tends to have an effect in terms of the exchange price. Supply and demand, right? With the supply of Bitcoin and the release and the minting and mining of Bitcoin being basically split in half, the exchange price tend to increase, and I've seen it statistically that in some instances it actually doubles. So it's easy to think about when the minting and mining supply gets divided in half, it tends to double the exchange price. Obviously, there's a lot of volatility, there's a lot of fluctuation, because of the fact that when this happens, people make tons of money. So if you're making money, then what do? You convert it back into dollars, and we see the volatility start. So that's very important to understand, and that is going to have a major impact in the year 2020. And we're going to hear about this even in 2019 as people begin to prepare for this particular change in the algorithm. So we will see that. So that is it for today. It's going to be a short episode. If you have any particular questions or feedback, don't forget to leave me some feedback. And don't forget to join our Blockchain Pro Facebook group so you can stay tuned on all the latest updates. In terms of, we will be covering a lot more coins. Today was all about Bitcoin, so you can have a basic understanding. And then we will continue on with the top 10, top 20, top 100 coins that are in the market right now. Thank you for watching. This is the Blockchain Pro and the Digital Market Show.